From Fox 8, this is Breaking News.
Good evening, I'm Lee Zurich.
And I'm Lauren McCoy. We begin with breaking news. The first round of the 2024 NFL Draft is underway, with LSU's Jaden Daniels being drafted second overall.
The Saints also picked up an offensive tackle just minutes ago with the 14th pick. Juan Kincaid and Sean Fazan join us live from Saints headquarters.
Thank you very much. Welcome back to Saints headquarters. Yeah, the Saints drafting at number 14, Taliese Fuaga, a 6'6" tackle, which is a position, was probably the position of need for this football team based on what's happened with James Hurst deciding to retire, Ryan Ramczyk having injury issues and not knowing when he's going to come back. This seemed like an obvious selection, at least the position was.
An obvious selection at 14, a pretty straightforward selection at 14. Don't overthink this. It was your biggest need. The Saints had a huge need, obviously, at the tackle position. They went and got Taliese Fuaga out of Oregon State, a guy played the last 2 seasons for Oregon State, 25 starts, over 700 snaps played a season ago. Interestingly enough, though, all on the right side, not the left side, all on the right side of the line. So it'll be interesting to see if he can go to the left side or whatever the case may be in terms of his future here. But what was more interesting was just how the board shaped up. Yeah. I mean, 3 tackles had went before Fuaga was selected by the Saints, but nonetheless, they were able to land their guy. But the way it stacked up, Saints had some options now at 14 to trade back. In fact, there was a report that they were considering offers. We'll get some more information on that when Mickey Loomis or Dennis Allen comes to talk to us a little bit later. But overall, they had options. They decided to stay at 14, got Fuaga, checked off their biggest need, and got a guy that's played a lot of college football and has been very productive. Also should point out, he had a very good week in Mobile at the Senior Bowl. Saints coaches were there. One
thing we should also mention is that leading up to the 14th pick, not one defensive player gone off the board. And you talk about having some options and having needs on that side of the ball.
They could have had number 1 defensive player.
Exactly, could have gone that side of the ball, but they addressed the number 1 need on this football team, because if you can't protect the quarterback, you can't win football games. And then Fuaga, he's a guy that's an All-American out of Oregon State. He's played well since he's been there, and he's a guy I would think, Sean, listen, when you're picking at 14, you want that guy. We talk about instant impact players. He needs to come in here and grab a spot.
Absolutely. And look, I think when you pick a guy at 14 at that position, given where the Saints currently are at that position from a depth standpoint, who they actually have on their rosters right now, I think it's not just drafting the guy, but a guy that could potentially play right away. We'll see if that happens, but nonetheless, a good, solid, straightforward selection for the Saints here tonight.
So the rest of the draft kind of broke down. The first 3 guys taken off the board were quarterbacks. Jaden Daniels from LSU, he is headed to Washington to play for the Commanders. We wondered if he would be the number 1 pick overall. He was slotted basically at number 2 behind Caleb Williams, of course going to the Chicago Bears with the number 1 pick. So Jaden Daniels ends up at a pretty good spot. Wherever he was going to go, you feel like he's going to be successful.
Yeah, he ended up being a number 2 overall pick. It really was kind of trended in that direction as the draft got closer and closer. He goes to the Washington Commanders, new head coach and Dan Quinn. We'll see what they do with that offense. You talk about instant impact and playing right away. I would think he's a guy they would think could get on the field right away in Washington.
6 of the first 12 draft picks are quarterbacks. Wide receiver 3, and one of those 3 wide receivers to go, Malik Neighbors, Daniels' teammate at LSU. He goes to the New York Giants. Listen, it's hard to keep good football players off the field, and LSU has done a good job of getting high draft pick wide receivers into the league and being productive early. Shouldn't be any different here.
Look around. I mean, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, the list goes on. And they're not done with receivers getting taken here tonight or maybe even tomorrow. So, yeah, LSU receivers that translated well to the NFL. The New York Giants saw that. They took Malik Neighbors.
So the Saints have their first pick out of the way. They'll pick again tomorrow. 8 more picks left in their pockets. The majority of those picks are after the 5th round, about 7 of them then. We expect to hear from head GM Mickey Loomis and maybe head coach Dennis Allen as well a little bit later on. Once we have that, we'll bring it to you as well. With Sean Fazan, I'm Juan Kincaid at Saints headquarters. Let's go back to the studio.